Tonight's State of the Union address. Got Senator Blunt with us. He will be in attendance, and there's been a lot that's just even internationally happened in the last 24 hours in North Korea and so forth. The questions as to whether or not that'll be written in at the last minute, maybe some reaction to that from the president. Of course, we're hearing that he's going to call for continued spending and tax increases, the same sort of agenda that he has been pushing, and somewhat successfully so far. Senator Blunt with us. Thanks for being with us. Are you expecting anything real, surprising out of this State of the Union address tonight?
Well, the big surprise, Nick, would be if the president said, here's what we need to do about spending, and here's how we need to reform our long-term commitments to these entitlement programs so they'll work, so that Social Security and Medicare is still there 25 or 30 years from now. That would be a big move and the right move, but I don't expect the president to do that. And frankly, I don't expect much out of this speech. I think this is going to, supposedly they're now turning to jobs, which if my count is right,
yeah.
This is the seventh time that the administration has said in the last 4 years and a couple of months, okay, now our number one priority is going to be jobs, and private sector jobs have clearly never been their number one priority.
I love how the media, they carry that, too, as if it's the first time it's been said, like, the president that said he's going to shift his focus to jobs, and I'm like you. He says it every year.
Yeah, and some years twice. I mean, we did a count on this yesterday, and literally this is the seventh White House announcement that now we're turning to jobs.
What do you think? I want to, because it's been in the news just last 12 hours, 24 hours with North Korea. North Korea, they clear, and you're on the Armed Services Committee. North Korea, they've clearly demonstrated it doesn't matter what we say to them. It doesn't matter what the UN says to them. It doesn't matter how many times we say it's unacceptable or that they've crossed a line or how many resolutions. The sanctions and these things, they seem to make no difference at all. With North Korea, I mean, clearly Iran seems to have the same distaste for us telling them what to do, and just they ignore it. But what can we even do if with a country like North Korea that doesn't believe that we'll actually do anything in order to prevent them from continuing these missile launches and these nuclear detonations?
Well, it's very difficult once they get these nuclear capability. And, North Korea has the ultimate failed system. If there's ever a place on the face of the earth that proved that communism didn't work and capitalism does, look at North Korea and South Korea. One is now one of the 8 biggest economies in the world, and the other can't feed themselves. And so they do this to get attention. And when you have nuclear weapons and you're slightly crazy, you're going to get some attention. That's one of the problems I had with Senator Hagel, former Senator Hagel, saying that he believed that you could contain a nuclear Iran. We should never let Iran get nuclear weapons. Korea is a great example of that. Not only do they use them to blackmail the world so they get food, but they also probably have been one of the great sources of nuclear capacity to countries like Iran, and will continue to be when it's the only thing they've got now that is really a marketable or threatening quantity.
What do you say to people? There are a great number of Americans that I think they've given up hope. And they feel, of course, Republicans are in the minority in the Senate anyhow, but even with the Republicans having control of the House, there's only so much that can be done. And some people, they feel like, well, they're not fighting hard enough, but nonetheless, just this spending, it's just not, when you've got Nancy Pelosi on the House side, you've got President Obama in the executive office saying spending's not a problem, we need to continue to keep spending, we need to raise taxes more on Americans. Is there anything that can stop them at this point?
Well, yes. yes, the House can stop them, and 45 members in the Senate, as long as the Senate rules don't change, can and are stopping them. The leverage has changed from 60 days ago until now. 60 days ago, we were in an environment where we were going to get tax increases unless Republicans could come up with some strategy and some proposal that the president would accept. And fortunately, we were able to do that in a way that maintained the good tax policies that we've had for over a decade for 99% of all taxpayers. But now we're in a moment where we're going to have spending cuts unless the president can come up with a different set of cuts. I firmly believe that Republicans in the House and Senate have made their last decision on the revenue on taxes for the next 4 years unless we lose control of the House. And so now we're going to see spending cuts. And the question is, are those going to be targeted cuts focused on defense and other things? Are they going to be across-the-board cuts? Or is the president finally going to realize that the money is really in the entitlement side of the budget? That's where 60% of all the spending is. But none of the cuts, virtually none of the cuts, are coming from that part of the budget. And the president could solve this by just saying, we're going to reform these programs for people who are under 55 so that they last for the future. So I think, and in terms of giving up, we've got this great opportunity with energy in the country. This is the greatest workforce in the world. If you combine that with energy, great things happen, and even the energy situation with natural gas and oil, shale gas and oil, is so great that even Barack Obama can't totally take that away from an economy that's going to benefit from it.
Are you doing this thing that a lot of lawmakers are doing where you have a Democrat as a date sit next to you?
No. I've had a couple of Democrats called our office, and I really don't like doing that. I work with Democrats, and I'm glad to serve with Democrats, but I think the State of the Union is something where, frankly, the president's going to say a lot of partisan things, and the Senate needs and the House need to react to that. So
yeah, that's
I'm not doing
point.
that. And one of the Senate leaders, I'm on the export committee, and I'll go out and walk in with the president, and but I don't expect to be standing on my feet many times during this speech tonight. I'd like to. There are a lot of things the president could say about energy, about trade, about Social Security and Medicare that I could get up on my feet and applaud vigorously about, but I don't expect to hear that tonight.
All right, Senator Blunt, listen, appreciate it, and I feel for you to a degree having to sit through that tonight because I don't think it's going to be one of the more inspiring or rewarding State of the Union addresses. So good luck to you.
It will be hard to be more disappointing than the inaugural address was.
Well, that's true. That's true. So I guess you could look at it that way. He's
got a low bar to chin here if you compare it to the disappointment of the inaugural address. And but I'll be there, and I'll be listening, and if there's some way to get the right things done, I'm ready to be part of that.
All right, Senator Blunt, thanks a bunch. Appreciate it.
Good to talk to you, buddy.
All right, you too. Bye now.